Welcome to our deep dive into resilience and well-being.
And we've got a really fascinating mix of sources today.
Yeah, we do.
Everything from a holistic coach's website to
Psychology Today,
insights from Psychology Today.
a little sprinkle of Reader's Digest wisdom.
Yes.
And we're even going to take a peek into a New York therapy practice.
Specifically for high achievers.
Yeah, so if you're feeling that pressure
Mhm.
to perform or like something's missing, even though you're outwardly successful,
You're in the right place.
stick with us.
This deep dive is for you.
Okay, so our first source is the website of Dr. Melissa Foynes.
Okay.
She is a clinical psychologist and coach.
This is impressive.
She created a program called The Science and Soul of Resilient Living.
I love that title.
And, you might be thinking, okay, another life coach. But
Yeah.
what's really intriguing here is how she blends Western psychology with Eastern healing modalities.
I
So things like mindfulness and Ayurveda.
This really speaks to a growing trend we're seeing. This integration of different approaches to well-being.
It's not just talk therapy anymore. Right?
Exactly. It's about a more holistic approach.
Yeah, and she specifically works with women, helping them overcome things like stress, fear, self-doubt,
Mm.
and that feeling of being lost
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
to ultimately help them create a meaningful life
Right.
aligned with their values.
That's so important.
And I was really drawn to her client testimonials.
Oh, yeah, those are always powerful.
They offer such a glimpse into the human experience behind all the theories.
One that really stood out to me was BGS's story.
Okay.
She described feeling like she was living under this dark cloud, weighed down by self-loathing.
I can relate to that.
And working with Dr. Foynes helped her rediscover joy and this sense of liberation.
That's incredible to make such a shift
It is.
from, such a dark place
Mhm.
to one of lightness and joy.
It's inspiring.
And then there's Ellen C.
Okay, what about her?
She talks about how Dr. Foynes helped her set better boundaries and regulate her emotions,
Those are essential skills.
leading to stronger and healthier relationships.
Now, while I agree that boundary setting is crucial,
Right.
it's often particularly challenging for high achievers.
Oh, tell me about it.
They're conditioned to say yes to everything.
Yeah, you're so right.
Dr. Foyne seems to provide tools and strategies to navigate those situations.
Which is so important.
Absolutely.
And we can't forget Gretchen B.,
Oh, yes. What did she have to say?
who speaks to the unique challenges faced by women, particularly women of color.
Yeah.
Her insights really highlight how important it is to
Yeah.
have a coach or therapist who understands those specific experiences.
It's not just about generic advice, right?
Exactly.
It's about addressing the systemic and cultural factors that impact well-being.
Absolutely.
So these stories are powerful not only for their individual journeys, but also for what they reveal about the sources of stress
Yeah.
and the path to resilience.
I love that.
Me too.
Okay, let's shift gears now and look at Psychology Today.
Ooh, one of my favorite sources.
I know, right? Psychology Today
Always full of insights.
offers a more research-backed perspective
Mm.
on the challenges of modern life.
Given that our deep dive is tailored for you,
Yeah.
the article on the perfectionism trap is particularly relevant.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It highlights how striving for excellence, a common trait among high achievers, can sometimes tip over into self-sabotage.
Yeah. It's a fine line, isn't it?
It is.
There's also an article on why smart people make bad relationship decisions.
Okay, that sounds intriguing.
It's a bit more lighthearted,
Okay.
but still rooted in psychology.
I think we can all relate to that one.
I think so, too.
Even the most intelligent people can stumble when it comes to matters of the heart.
It's true.
Yeah.
Now, Psychology Today also highlighted a cultural phenomenon
This should be good.
that caught my eye.
Okay, tell me more.
Oxford Dictionary's word of the year.
You ready for this?
I don't know, but
It's brain rot.
brain rot.
I know it's unsettling.
This is a little...
But think about it in the context of everything we've been discussing.
Okay.
It reflects a sense of mental overload, perhaps stemming from the constant influx of information and stimulation in the digital age.
Yeah, we're bombarded with news, social media, and entertainment.
It can feel like our brains are turning to mush.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does, doesn't it?
It's like we're craving a mental detox.
Precisely.
So how do we combat this brain rot and build resilience?
Well, our next source, Reader's Digest, might have some surprisingly practical answers.
Okay.
While Psychology Today gives us the big picture, Reader's Digest offers more grounded, everyday solutions.
I'm intrigued.
They have some science-backed tips for getting a good nap.
Okay.
Now, before you brush it off as too simple,
Right.
remember that rest and rejuvenation are essential components of resilience,
You're right.
especially in our fast-paced world.
Sometimes we need to go back to basics.
A good nap can do wonders
Oh, it really can.
for our mood and productivity. Now, while we're on the topic of practical advice,
Yeah.
Reader's Digest also reminds us to unplug appliances before going on vacation.
That's a good one, especially with the holidays coming up.
It is, isn't it?
So easy to forget those little things.
When you're rushing around.
A little bit of foresight can prevent a lot of stress.
And potential headaches down the road.
Yeah, I like that. Small steps, big impact.
Exactly.
But I have to ask, what about that historical toilet paper trivia?
Well, sometimes you need a little humor.
True.
And a reminder that our modern conveniences weren't always so convenient.
It puts things in perspective.
It does.
Okay, so our final source for this part of our deep dive
This is a good one.
is Uncover Mental Health Counselling.
Yes.
This is that New York practice specializing in high achievers.
They seem to really understand the pressures you face.
I'm curious to hear more about them.
The perpetual dissatisfaction. The constant pressure to perform.
It's like they're speaking directly to that high achiever experience.
Exactly. And their use of cognitive behavioral therapy could be particularly useful for you,
Oh, how so?
given its focus on managing stress and those negative thought patterns,
Yeah,
which are often associated with high-achieving individuals.
that's a great point.
Mm,
And it sounds like they offer a very personalized approach.
absolutely.
They mention having a diverse range of therapists
Right.
and working with specialized populations.
Like the LGBTQ plus community,
BIPOC individuals.
even high-achieving teens.
Wow.
It underscores the importance of finding a therapist who truly understands your individual needs and background.
It's not one size fits all, is it?
It's not.
So we've gone from personal transformation stories to insights from psychology to practical wisdom and now to a therapy practice tailored for high achievers.
What a journey this deep dive has been so far.
And we've only just scratched the surface. Welcome back to our deep dive into resilience and well-being.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, we have.
From those personal transformation stories to the research-backed insights and even practical tips for navigating everyday stressors.
Right, and I think what's striking to me is how all these different sources point toward one core theme,
What's that?
the importance of self-compassion.
You're absolutely right.
It keeps coming up.
Yeah, whether it's Dr. Foynes emphasizing the need to counteract that self-criticism with kindness,
Right.
or psychology, today's article on breaking free from self-doubt.
It's clear that being kind to ourselves is crucial.
Yes, especially for building resilience.
It's like we're so programmed to achieve and strive for more
Right.
that we forget to give ourselves a break.
And that constant pressure can lead to burnout, resentment, and even feeling lost,
Yeah.
despite achieving those external markers of success.
And remember what Uncover Mental Health Counselling highlighted?
What was that?
A lot of their clients, despite being high achievers,
Mm-hmm.
feel like something's missing.
It's like we're chasing this elusive definition of success
Yeah.
that doesn't actually equate to well-being.
Exactly. So how do we actually practice self-compassion?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Especially when we're so used to being hard on ourselves.
It starts with recognizing that we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
We all make mistakes. We all have setbacks when we all face those unique challenges.
Right.
It's about offering ourselves the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a close friend.
I love that analogy.
It really shifts the perspective.
Instead of beating ourselves up, we can choose to be our own cheerleaders.
Precisely.
And it's not about lowering our standards
Right.
or becoming complacent.
It's about approaching our goals and challenges with a more supportive and understanding inner voice.
Okay, so it's about the internal dialogue, but it's also about taking those concrete actions to prioritize our well-being, right?
Absolutely remember those practical tips from Reader's Digest.
Oh yeah, the nap.
Taking a nap when you're tired, unplugging from technology.
Even making sure to unplug those appliances before vacation.
Those are all acts of self-care.
Right.
And ultimately self-compassion.
Those simple tips really resonated with me.
You had it.
It's a reminder that self-compassion doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing.
It can be as simple as making sure you're getting enough sleep.
Right.
It's about creating a life that supports your well-being, both mentally and physically.
I like that.
Sometimes those seemingly small actions
Mm-hmm.
can have a huge ripple effect
Oh, yeah.
on how we feel and how we show up in the world.
And speaking of ripple effects, remember how Dr. Foynes' clients talked about
What about them?
how her approach helped them improve their relationships?
Yes, by learning to set boundaries, manage their emotions, and cultivate self-compassion,
Mm-hmm.
they were able to show up more fully and authentically
in their relationships.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup
Right.
if we're not taking care of ourselves.
We can't truly be there for others.
Exactly.
Resilience and well-being are not just individual pursuits. They have this positive impact
On everything.
on our relationships, our families, our communities. It's about creating a culture of care that extends outward from within.
So that brings us back to brain rot and the challenges of the digital age.
Yeah, how do we deal with all that?
By cultivating self-compassion and prioritizing our well-being, we can create that buffer against that feeling of mental overload.
We can choose to engage with technology in a more mindful way,
Right.
setting boundaries, taking breaks,
And focusing on content that nourishes our minds.
rather than depleting them.
It's not about rejecting technology altogether.
Right. It's about using it as a tool
That supports our well-being.
rather than letting it control us.
Exactly.
It's about being intentional with our time and energy.
Right.
And that intentionality is a key component of resilience.
You know, this deep dive is really starting to feel like a blueprint
For what?
for creating a more resilient and fulfilling life.
Isn't it?
We've got the insights from psychology, those practical tips, the personal stories of transformation.
And even a resource like Uncover Mental Health Counselling.
Right, if you need more specialized support,
It's like we're assembling this toolkit
piece by piece.
to help you navigate the inevitable ups and downs of life
And the best part is you get to choose which tools to use
and how to customize them.
to fit your own unique needs and goals.
That's what I love about this whole approach.
It's empowering.
It's about taking ownership of your well-being.
And creating a life that truly aligns with your values.
And it's an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Oh, that's important to remember.
There will be times when you feel strong and resilient.
Mm,
And there will be times when you need to lean on that support system
right.
and tap into those self-care practices.
It's not about being perfect, it's about progress.
And speaking of progress, we're about to move on to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Are you ready for some even deeper insights?
I think so.
And perhaps a challenge to put all this into action.
Absolutely. Let's dive into part 3. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into resilience and well-being.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, it really has.
We've explored a range of ideas,
Yeah.
from ancient wisdom to that cutting-edge research.
And through it all,
Yeah.
one theme just keeps
I
surfacing.
know what you're going to say.
The power of self-compassion.
Yeah, there it is.
It's like this golden thread that's weaving through all these different sources.
Well, I like that analogy.
Connecting those personal stories, the psychological insights, even those practical everyday tips.
It's the common denominator.
It is.
In a world that's constantly pushing us to do more, be more, achieve more,
Right.
self-compassion is the antidote to burnout
Yes.
and that nagging sense of never being good enough.
It's like we're finally giving ourselves permission to be human, to acknowledge our imperfections and embrace our vulnerability.
Now, here's what's fascinating.
Go.
Self-compassion isn't about letting ourselves off the hook
Right.
or lowering our standards.
So it's not about being soft on ourselves.
Not at all. It's actually the opposite.
Okay.
Research shows that people who are more self-compassionate tend to be more motivated, more resilient, and better able to bounce back from setbacks.
So it's about being smart
Yeah,
and strategic in how we approach our goals and challenges.
exactly. Recognizing that we're all works in progress,
Yeah.
and setbacks are an inevitable part of growth.
That's so true.
Instead of beating ourselves up when things go wrong, we can choose to treat ourselves with kindness.
Right.
The same kindness we'd offer a close friend.
I love that it's about being our own best friend.
Exactly. Our own cheerleader, our own source of support.
And you know, remember those inspiring testimonials from Dr. Foyn's clients?
Oh, yeah. They were so powerful.
A lot of them talked about feeling seen, heard, and valued in her presence.
That's so important.
It's a key ingredient in fostering self-compassion.
It is.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
I love that saying.
If we're not taking care of ourselves, we
Right.
can't show up for others.
Or for the things that matter most.
And that brings us back to those practical tips from Reader's Digest.
Oh, yes. Those simple but effective tips.
Taking a nap, unplugging from technology, even remembering to unplug those appliances before vacation.
It's all about self-care,
Right.
which nourishes our well-being and fuels our resilience.
It's a good reminder that self-compassion doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing.
Sometimes the simplest things are the most powerful.
Like choosing to prioritize rest,
Absolutely.
even in our busy lives.
And it can also be about setting boundaries.
Oh, yeah, those boundaries.
Learning to say no.
Which can be hard.
It can be, especially for high achievers.
Who feel pressured to say yes to everything.
But protecting our time and space is essential.
It's about making choices that align with our values and well-being.
Now, if you're struggling to cultivate self-compassion or set those boundaries,
Right.
remember Uncover Mental Health Counseling.
This seemed like a great resource.
They specialize in working with high achievers.
And they offer a variety of those evidence-based therapies
They can help you manage stress, overcome negative thought patterns.
and build a more resilient and fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
I'm ready.
We've explored all these tools and strategies.
For building resilience and well-being.
What's one small step
Okay, I like this.
that you can take this week to prioritize those things in your own life?
That's a great question.
It could be anything from carving out some time for yourself to setting a boundary with a colleague
Even just noticing those negative self-talk patterns.
and choosing to replace them with kinder, more compassionate words.
And remember, all those resources we discussed are still out there for you.
Dr. Foyne's podcast, those insightful articles on Psychology Today, the practical wisdom from Reader's Digest.
And of course, Uncover Mental Health Counseling if you're in the New York area.
This deep dive has given you a taste of the many paths to resilience,
Now it's up to you.
to choose your own adventure and create a life that truly nourishes your mind, body, and spirit.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep seeking knowledge.
Keep nurturing your well-being.
And most importantly, be kind to yourself. You deserve it.